but I do want to bring in Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen, who serves on this committee since he stepped out for us. I know your time is precious. You want to get back in there. Thank you so much for joining us, Senator. What is your top question for Secretary Rubio today?
Well, Anna, first of all, on the issue of undermining NATO, Donald Trump has been undermining NATO since day one. Senator Rubio would have been on the floor of the Senate calling out those outrageous comments the president makes about invading Greenland. Unfortunately, Secretary Rubio presents a very different story. I'll be looking at the corruption of this Trump administration. Remember, going into Venezuela had nothing to do with stopping drug running. At the same time, the president was cutting the budget for the Drug Enforcement Agency. He was pardoning the former Honduran president who'd been convicted of drug running. And it had nothing to do with, bringing more freedom to the people of Venezuela. It had all to do with oil, oil, oil. And if you look at the beneficiaries of getting our hands on that oil, it's some of Donald Trump's biggest contributors. And so that is just part of a larger pattern of corruption by the Trump administration and the Trump family.
You have said that it's possible the administration committed war crimes with that double tap strike on that first alleged drug boat. Has there been any resolution on whether that double tap was legal? Have you seen accountability?
Well, I've not had a chance to see the actual video, but by all accounts, it would constitute a war crime. But that's if we look at this whole thing through their lens. I mean, the whole operation targeting these individuals and these boats was outside any framework of international law or U.S. law. And so the whole thing, in my view, was an illegal operation conducted by the Trump administration.
Senator, I also want to ask you about immigration and everything that's happening in Minnesota. We have seen some changes in how the Trump administration is talking about the killing of Alex Preddy. There's this new CBP report provided to lawmakers. It makes no mention that Preddy brandished a gun, which Secretary Kristi Noem initially said. And we have a new statement from White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who initially called Preddy an assassin. Well, now he's saying the White House is, quote, evaluating why the CBP team may not have been following clear protocol in Minnesota. What do you make of how the administration is handling and talking about Alex Preddy's killing?
Well, the idea that Steve Miller is trying to throw other people under the bus when he's been one of the ringleaders is outrageous. He's the one who went out and called Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist. He called Renee Good a domestic terrorist. All of us can see the video. Imagine if there were no video for this. They would still be lying to the American people. So what happened is they got caught because everybody across the country, regardless of party, can see that Alex Preddy was not a domestic terrorist. They can see that he didn't come, to assassinate people, as Stephen Miller and others like Kristi Noem have said. So what they're doing now is trying to, essentially put the genie back in the bottle. But these individuals are caught lying. We need structural changes to rein in ICE. I will not take the word of anybody in this administration.
I know you've been trying to investigate an ICE facility in Maryland, and you shared this video that appears to show people packed together on the floor of a facility there. We have to note MS Now has not confirmed the authenticity of this video or where it is. And in a statement to the Washington Post, DHS attributed the overcrowding to this past weekend storm and subsequent flight cancellations, saying it was nearly impossible for ICE to safely transfer detainees from processing facilities like this one in Baltimore to long-term detention facilities as scheduled. You say you were denied access to that facility yesterday. What happened, and what kinds of reports have you gotten about this facility?
Well, I believe that this video is authentic. We've checked with many, many people, and that's my belief. Unfortunately, this is part of a pattern of inhumane conditions at the Baltimore ICE Holding Center. They are operating outside of the standards that were set for that center, even before the snowstorm. You're not supposed to hold people there for more than 12 hours. They've been holding people there for days. Now you see the kind of inhumane conditions that were there. So I wanted to visit. I asked and said I wanted to come yesterday. They said no. They wouldn't let me in if I came. This is obviously an attempt to cover up. It's obviously an attempt to hide from the American people some of these real abuses that are taking place with American taxpayer dollars.
Senator Chris Van Hollen, we know you'll keep us posted on that story and many others. Thank you for your time.